Powell decides to keep rates steady, and Congress votes to keep hedge funds out of your home. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. Joe Werper coming at you. And at yesterday's Fed meeting, Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, announced that they will not be cutting rates this year, at least not yet. Now, Wall Street did not like this because people were hoping that in the May meeting, we would begin to see at least a 0.25% cut in interest rates, because so far, Powell has held rates steady for 8 meetings. This is the second longest run we've seen where rates have remained at the same level. And Wall Street is looking for rates to come down. So much so that going into the first quarter, the S&P 500 had gained 10% and has had a 40% pullback to about a 6% gain year to date after the Fed's announcement. And Powell has decided to not cut rates because inflation is still rearing its ugly head. Now, what most people look at is the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. And we can see that over the last 3 months, the CPI has actually risen. And that had made a lot of investors fearful that Powell won't cut rates, but that he might actually increase rates. But Powell is not looking at the CPI. He is looking at the PCE index, or the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index. And as you can see here, that index, which was above 5% 2 years ago, has fallen to about 2.8% over the last 2 months, which means we're not seeing that index increase. In fact, we've seen that index fall over the last few months. And experts were predicting a 2.6% increase on the PCE. It stayed at 2.8%, which tells me that inflation is under control. It's just not quite at the 2% that he thinks he needs. And until we get closer to that 2% or go below that 2%, I don't know if Powell will begin to cut rates. Now, he did slow down his bond selling program, but he did not cut rates, and he did not signal that he would be cutting rates at the next meeting, but he did say that he felt fairly certain they would not be raising interest rates. So we'll have to watch the PCE in the coming months and see if it gets under control. Now, what do consistently higher rates mean for you as the investor? Well, number one, the good news is that means your money market accounts are still going to be paying between 4 to 5%. That means that CDs at the bank could still be yielding 4 to 6%. Unfortunately, that means that your mortgage rates will not be dropping anytime soon, and they should stay in that 7% range. Now, as soon as Powell begins lowering rates, we should see mortgage rates decline. Unfortunately, we'll see money market accounts and CD rates decline as well. So what does this mean for your home value? Well, recently, Congress just presented a bill to ban large investors from purchasing single-family homes and forcing them to sell their entire inventory of homes. Well, what does this mean for you? Well, large investors in this bill mean any investor who has over $50 million of assets on the books. And what Congress is trying to stop is they're trying to stop these trillion-dollar hedge funds from buying up all the single-family homes at affordable prices so that you won't be able to afford to purchase that home, and unfortunately, you'll only be able to rent for the rest of your life. If we look at the current cost of homes, we're seeing that the average cost of a new home in America is about $420,000. A significant increase from the $298,000 we saw pre-pandemic levels. So we're talking about a 40% increase. And at the same time, we saw interest rates on the mortgages increase from 3% to 7%. So just a few years ago, it would have cost you about $1,000 a month to buy a median price home in the United States. That's a $298,000 home if you put 28% down. Today, that same home is going to run you about $420,000. And if you can afford to put that 20% down, now you're looking at a $2,200 a month mortgage. That is over a 100% increase in the mortgage cost, even though the home has only gone up by 40%. Because inflation has affected interest rates so negatively, it's costing you a lot more. Not only has your down payment increased from around $60,000 to $80,000, now we're talking about over twice as much in expenses every month simply to own that home. And if those homes are being bought up by institutional investors who have an unlimited amount of money, that is going to cause these median-priced homes to continue to rise. Now, one of the fears out there is if this bill passes, all of these large institutional investors will be required to sell or liquidate their portfolio, and people worry that that could cause a massive influx of houses to hit the market, and we could see a big decrease in the value of homes. I don't see that happening. As you can see here, currently there's about 1.5 million homes for sale, which is actually very low. Back in June of 2020, during the pandemic, we saw about 2 million homes for sale on average in the markets. If we take a look at the number of homes owned by investors, we see that about 15.1 million homes, these are single family homes, are currently held by investors. And of that, only about 574,000 of those 15 million homes are owned by large institutional investors. So if this bill were to pass and the institutional investors were forced to sell their 574,000 homes, that would take our current inventory of homes, it's about 1.5 million, raise it up to 2 million, which is where it was about 4 years ago. I don't see that changing the value of homes in this country at all. In fact, I would see that as a buying opportunity, and people might be able to have a chance to get in there and purchase those first-time homes for themselves and not be stuck renting for the rest of their life. And while large investors may only own about 3.8% of the inventory out there, if they are allowed to continue to purchase homes, which their purchases have declined significantly as interest rates have risen and the cost for borrowing money has gone up, don't let that fool you for a second. These investors weren't saying we're never going to buy homes again. They were just taking a pause for now. They could easily go back to purchasing those homes, which would price you and your neighbors out of potentially ever being able to own a home for the rest of your life. So if you ask me, I think this is a great bill. I think this should pass. I don't think hedge funds, who already own 96 to 97% of all businesses in America, I don't think they should own the majority of homes that are available for you to purchase as a first-time home buyer. As bad as it is, currently 26% of all homes being purchased, and this is up from 15% pre-pandemic levels, are being purchased by investors. That means those investors are buying those homes so that they can make you rent them and you don't have the ability to own them. And really, the American dream is home ownership, and I think everybody out there should have the opportunity to buy a home. It is one of the easiest ways to accumulate wealth in this country, and I hope that this bill passes. It seems to have supporters on both sides of the aisle. And tell me what you think in the comments down below. Is it a good idea? Should we ban institutional investors from buying homes? Or is that the government stepping over their bounds and they have no right to mandate that kind of a bill? If you like videos like this, make sure you check back for new videos. Check out some of my previous videos. Leave a comment down below. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you are informed when I come out with a new video. And as always, I'll see you next time.